Hello and welcome. Thank you for coming to see me today. My name is Miss Emily, and I am a friend of that marvelous American poet, Mr. Walt Whitman. Oh, I'm very proud to be his friend, as you could imagine. But how does one get to be a friend of Walt Whitman? Well, I'll tell you. You can come upon him while he's walking in the woods. It's a place that he loves being, but I love being there too. And the way that we met was probably not the most auspicious way to begin a friendship. It happened like this. I took a walk one day, a beautiful spring day. There was blue sky and the grass was only just starting to grow. And as I walked through the hills, I thought I heard somebody's voice. As I got closer to where the voice was sounding, well, there was indeed somebody there, an older man, someone I had never seen before, never met before, and he was talking to himself. Well, I'm sure I've heard of stranger things, but as I got closer, I realized that he wasn't talking to himself at all. He looked like he was talking to the trees. Well, he wasn't talking to the trees at all either. He was looking up into the tree, and as he heard me come by, he motioned to me, come closer. And as I did, I realized that he was looking up at the tree, at a bird's nest, and he was speaking to the birds. Hello, little one. How are you today? Are you fine? Are you enjoying this beautiful day? And Mr. Whitman looked at me and said, what would you like to say to the birds? I don't know. I've never spoken to a bird before. Well, try, Mr. Whitman said. And so I thought about it, and I said, are you hungry? Where is your mother? And just then, a mother robin came flying back, having a little worm hanging from her mouth, and all the little chicks were going crazy trying to get her attention. They all wanted something to eat. And Mr. Whitman began to laugh. He told me that his family lived there. He introduced himself. I introduced myself. And from that point on, we became friends. He said that he often came back to Whitman Land, often to walk around the place that he called Paumanok, which was the old name for Long Island. Now, over time, Mr. Whitman became quite a renowned poet. But he did poetry that was very different from the kind of poetry that other people did before him. He did something called free verse. And free verse is poetry that doesn't rhyme. It may or may not even have a meter, a beat. It's thoughts and words that express the way that someone feels, which really makes it pretty easy for people like you and I to write free verse. Mr. Whitman published his first book, and then other books, and eventually put them together in an enormous book called Leaves of Grass. I don't know if you can really see that all that well. This is a very old book, and Mr. Whitman gave this one to me. I love it, and I think it's very, very special. Do you have a book that's very special to you? One of your favorites, perhaps? I wonder if it's as big as this one. This one is enormous, and there's many, 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 many words. But you don't necessarily have to read the entire book. to get the whole feeling of what Walt Whitman is all about. Oh, he was a very, very special man. And he looked at things very, very closely. Now, this book's name is Leaves of Grass. And if I am to tell you the ending before even the beginning, then perhaps I could tell you that he looks at people in the world as if they were leaves of grass. Some tall, some short, some a little darker, some a little lighter. But all of us as single leaves of grass, and put us all together, and we make a beautiful lawn, a beautiful forest, a beautiful group of trees. It is a beautiful thing. And that is what he was talking about. I don't know if you've ever really taken a good hard look at a single blade of grass. He calls them leaves. I call them blades. You might call them blades too. But if you looked at it very, very closely, you'll see that as much as alike as they are, there's little differences. To understand Walt is to understand his point of view. And I think what I would like to do is read you something from in here, something that I think explains who he is. And it's from Leaves of Grass, and it actually starts with the phrase, a leaf of grass. And it goes like this. I believe a leaf of grass is no less than the journey work of the stars. And the pismire is equally perfect, and a grain of sand, and the egg of the wren. And the tree toad is a chef d'oeuvre for the highest, and the running blackberry would adorn the parlors of heaven. And the narrowest hinge in my hand puts to scorn all machinery. And the cow, crunching with depressed head, surpasses any statue. And a mouse is miracle enough to stagger sextillions of infidels. Well, some of those words are awfully big. And you may look up some of them, but a pismire, funny word, isn't it? Pismire is an animal that works in a colony, like ants or bees. And what Mr. Whitman is saying is how very, very special each and every one of these things are. Just a part of nature, being so much more than anything that maybe you could create in your own home. You are a special creator, he says. But nature is the one that creates the best. Have you ever walked out and taken a look at leaves of grass? Have you stopped and looked at a sparrow as it goes popping around? Or maybe you're lucky enough to live in a place where suddenly you'll look outside and you'll see a squirrel just digging in the ground right now, as I'm seeing right outside my window. Take some time today and look for something in nature. And when you can observe it really, really closely, maybe you too want to write a few words about it. The next time we get together, why don't we talk about that a little bit more? For right now, I'm going to say goodbye to you. This is Miss Emily. And stay curious, everyone. Bye-bye.